Good evening, students, teachers, and parents of Kudrati International School, Pune. And we are back with the fourth session of our Expert Talk series. And again, today we have Miss Habiba Kudrati with us, joining us from Mumbai. Welcome to the show, Habiba.
Ishita, pleasure to be here once again.
And I don't think you are new. I don't think our listeners do not know about you. And I'm sure they have been experiencing a lot of positive tips, which I'm sure they have imbibed also in their life, in their parenting pattern. So, beginning with the same topic of conscious parenting and crafting our children's well being, our children's emotional well being. Habiba, last session we tried to understand how a parent would self-reflect, would introspect, and come face to face with his or her emotions. And you also told us ways and means in which once we decipher and label these emotions, we also know the correct way to express it. And thereby can we become equipped to handle the child also.
Right.
Now, very important is once as an adult, we have come face to face with our own emotions. We know what is our pattern of thinking, and in certain situations, as an adult, how do I behave? The most important critical situation that I, as a parent, would have in front of me is my home and my classroom. The child's classroom right now and my home is the same, and that
Right.
is my workplace also. So for some it may not be a workplace. If you are just idle at home, it may not be a workplace, but that classroom is where you are present along with your child. That's a
Right.
huge transformation. All this while the child was an independent learner in school. Today the child shares this learning space with an adult in the home.
Right.
How is the child's emotion? How is the parent's emotion? Could you help us understand
Okay. So before we even understand what are their emotions, okay, let's understand what is the role of a parent and a teacher in a child's life.
that? Okay.
Okay. So first, let's understand that, and then probably we'll be able to understand how the emotions can then be understood what it is, right? So, what is the importance of a school? They say that a school is your second home, right? So then your teachers become your the parental figure in that home of yours, right? So then what happens is that it's a partnership. I always say that a child's well-being, whether it's academic, whether it's emotional well-being, it's a partnership between the school and home. That's where it is, and these are those significant adults from whom the child is constantly learning, whether we are teaching them or we are not teaching them, they're constantly learning from us. That's how important are the parents and teachers. Now when I say that they're constantly learning from us, how is that impacting them? The same way when I said that your emotions, and if you are disturbed, it's going to impact the child. Similarly, how is it going to impact the child? That yes, even the child will behave in a particular way. That's how the child learns, right? Now, when I know that this is a partnership, and when I say that it's a partnership between the parents and the teachers, what happens in a partnership? What happens when the partnership, when two partners start fighting? What will happen to that business?
I think the person in between is affected the most. And
Exactly. So your
here,
business
if
is
you talk
affected.
about partnership, then it is always going to be the child who would be affected the most if both partners are not in equal equation.
Exactly. So let's the way when I say two partners, if they don't get along or they're constantly pointing fingers at each other that you're not doing this, you're not doing this, right? The business gets affected. Now, here the parents and the teachers have become partners for the child, and if
Mm.
the parents and the teachers are not on the same page, the child gets affected. Like when I said last time that if the father and the mother are not on the same page, the child gets affected. Why? Because
True.
that's a partnership for your child, right? Similar,
True.
this is an extended partnership,
Very
right?
true.
And that extended partnership also has to be, so yes, parents can have concerns that this is not the way I would want the teacher to be. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We can have difference of opinions, but do we need to express that in front of a child? Do we need to express that so loudly that everybody needs to know? Like if you have a fight with your husband, do you gather everybody and say that okay, fine, this is how it is, right? So when you have a fight with your husband, and I often say this, whenever you have a fight with your husband, do you put up on your family group saying that, listen, I fought with my husband and he said this and he said this and I'm getting angry? You don't do that.
No.
But if there is a problem with a teacher, then it's put up on the parent that this teacher is behaving like this teacher is behaving like this is not how the school. It's your problem. You can sort it out. You don't need to make it public
Yeah.
because this is your partnership. And if your partnership gets affected, your child is going to get affected,
True.
right? Similarly, with teachers also. So, I don't want the parents to feel that I am siding the teachers, right? No, but even for the teachers, right? If you feel that a particular child isn't doing well, okay, or you want the parents to take extra care with something, you can always communicate. You can always, again this whole we principle comes into thing, that the teachers don't have to tell the parents that you need to do this, you need to do this. No, how can
Correct.
we do it together?
Correct.
So the power of we is very important.
Yeah.
If we all understand the power of we, then it's going to be so much easier,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
any communication needs to be transparent, and it needs to not be in the open.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be a private conversation,
True.
right? So we are all different human beings. We all are going to have concerns, right? Now, what has happened with this COVID and school being at home, the homeschooling, we are finding opportunities to gather that one moment when somebody goes wrong and we can lash out. All of a sudden, it was second hand information. What happened in school was second hand information, right? Whatever the child would come and say, that was. Now I'm in a position to get that first hand information. I have the power. Now I will show that how they. So it's very easy to be a critic.
Correct.
It's the most easiest thing. Today we are talking, and there could be a third person who can just very critically evaluate our thing. And that is why even in the industry, film industry, there is a critic award, right? Because it's so easy to be a critic and stand there and evaluate something critically. The most difficult thing is to appreciate,
Right.
right? And that appreciation, which probably, of course, you might not agree with something, you might not feel that no, this is not going right. It's okay. It's okay to communicate. We all are learning. This situation was never there before, so we
Right.
all are learning. And while we are learning, if there is an error, we can bring the error in front, but we don't need to make that error like a crime.
Very true.
Is it?
And what you said is about two, three prime things which I again want to reiterate and highlight. One is a very transparent yet a very discreet communication. So
Yes.
it's just like we do it at home with our spouses or with our children. We may not like a habit of our child. We disagree with certain patterns of behavior in our child, but since we do not take it as a customer and a receiver kind of a relationship, what we do is we take out a time, we address the concern in the right direction to the right person, and we
Right.
try to have a conversation,
Right.
right? So that my viewpoint goes across without kind of discouraging you, labeling you, or insulting you, or magnifying it to to any extent. All right.
Right.
But at the same time, I think if the relationship is considered that I am a buyer, you are a seller, I am a receiver, you are a service provider, I think the entire emotion behind interpreting, as you said, right, as a critic, then
Yes.
comes in a very different role. I mean, to be a critic also, you need a lot of information to be a
Right.
effective critic.
Yes. Yes, of
Okay,
course.
so with lack of information, you can't be a critic either.
Right. Right.
Or to be an appreciator also, you need a lot of information. Just a first hand experience doesn't build us to become critics or evaluators or appreciators on any field, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so how do you help the parent to make this mental shift, because nobody is doing it consciously. Okay,
Yes.
but then we always read all over across the country that how teachers are put through a different kind of microscope, and how the critical acclaims are coming in, and how their work is getting less appreciated. Again, there are a lot of parents who are appreciating also, but maybe that is not coming to the forefront. Maybe
Exactly.
just the negative aspect is only getting highlighted. All
Right.
right. And if I understand, none of the parents are doing it consciously or with the aim of doing it. Okay, it is a very, very involuntary habit of the human. Okay, so how do we, again, it's a reactive phase as we were discussing. It has happened with our spouses. Immediately you lash back, or you spurt out whatever comes to your mind because it's first hand experience. So how do we get our parents sitting in along with the child in the classroom to come out of this first hand experience and help him or her to evaluate as a step by step process before they get into a structured conversation with the teacher, and find out how the emotion can be transferred there.
Okay. So, the last time when we were speaking, okay, I said that, the mothers start believing that they play the role of a protector. They are the shield of their children. Anything will not touch their child, but it will go through them.
Correct.
Okay. So what happens is that I want to protect my child. I want to give the best to my child. I want everything to be perfect in my child's life.
True.
And who's responsible for that? Nobody is responsible. I am responsible for that. I've taken up that role. Nobody has given it to me. I have self defined my role. That I am going to be that mother who will do all this. And if I can't do all this, then I'm not a perfect mother. This is what I have acclaimed myself. This is what I'm telling myself every single day. Okay. So first get out of that role. This self role that you have given yourself, that I'm going to be the protector, you're not going to be the protector, right? So first we will not be their protector. They will learn how to speak for themselves, right?
Lovely.
Yes. Now when your child does come and tell you, okay, that in class this is what happened, or the teacher was very rude with me, right? If the child does come up and tell you, so you're not the protector, the child comes up and tells you that. What if you're So I again, I'm going to go on comparing this with your partner. Okay, suppose you are living in a family where you have a mother-in-law also. Your child comes and tells you that, daddy told me this, she spoke to me very rudely. What are you going to go get up and snap at the daddy? But you should, na, because you're the protector. When will this shift be made, Ishita? When parents start believing that the teachers are my partners.
Yeah.
They are not my employees. They are not the one who I've paid money to look after my child. They are not my child's caretaker,
Yeah.
right? And when that shift has been made from the parents' side, things will change. We need to make that shift, right?
True.
And similarly with the teachers also. Okay, when the teachers will stop looking at this, that this is my job.
Right. I think
Okay,
that's very important.
yes. And when they will not look at this as a job, because if they will look at this as a job, then this is just a ritual that I need to do to get my monthly pay. If I am not good at it, I will not get my monthly pay.
True.
So, as a person who's sitting in a desk job and doing paperwork, these children become your paperwork. No, they are not your paperwork. You're shaping their future,
Very true.
right? And that's where it comes that when we both the sides understand this, that makes the child a beautiful child. That makes the child the most successful child. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So we need to make this shift into ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you have access now to the classroom because it's everything's online.
Mm.
But do you want to take that access?
Mm.
Do you
Mm.
want to tell your child that, listen, I'm going to be monitoring you now? I've got the control in my hand. I'm going to be monitoring you,
Yeah.
right? The child probably in your presence is not able to open up also, because if he'll say something wrong and you will turn up and say, you don't even know this much, come on, we are going to sit and do this
And
again.
and that's precisely what is happening, Habiba.
It is normal, Ishita. This is how the child is going to see,
Hmm.
because the child, and some children are very bindas. Okay, so for those children it is doesn't make a difference. I don't care anything, I will just yet speak. They are those extroverts in nature,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
But there are some who are introverts who will know the answer,
Absolutely.
but yet they will not speak,
Correct.
right? And that is because inherently I am born an extrovert or an introvert.
Yes.
Okay, and I can't challenge my inherent traits. So I yet remember myself that I am an inherent introvert. Although everybody tells me that you don't look like that because my profession doesn't allow me to look like that, but I am. So in school I yet remember that I would know the answer, but I would never raise my hand to answer.
Very true.
And every time I means the teachers would think that I'm absolutely a dumb person who doesn't know the answer, but that's okay with me. I just didn't have that thing that I should raise my hand,
Yeah.
right? So there are so many emotions that the child is going through, and why is the child supposed to behave the way you want the child to behave?
That's, I think that's most important, Habiba, because with experience, what we've seen, a child in a physical classroom who was much more agile, active, and very different. Okay,
Yes.
always responding before the teacher could even complete asking a question, or maybe ask, he himself would add on few perspectives to the question. All right, this child, when sitting from home, and you can always feel there is a presence in the background, all right, and there is a difference in his behavior, there is a difference in the approach. The child is no more bubbly, the child is not reciprocating at that, he's no more fearless. That doesn't matter whatever I answer, it could be just like just to answer and make all my classmates laugh.
True.
Okay, he's forgotten the joy of answering.
Yes.
Earlier in a live classroom there used to be a joy of answering, where even I can invoke laughter in all my peer group by just giving an answer, and even my teacher would laugh and I would be like, oh, he's always into these kind of things.
Right.
That's over, because I know there is going to be an adult in my home who would judge me and say, how could you give something like this?
Right.
I mean, yesterday we were having a discussion on this topic and you knew it. Then why didn't you go ahead and do it? All
Yeah.
right. Or else there is another person trying to remind the teacher in the chat box, my child is still waiting, my child is still waiting, and for his turn. Whereas you are just concentrating on the remaining others, my child is still waiting. So waiting is a life skill. We all
Yes.
need to learn to wait,
Right.
because
Right.
we just can't put our finger on something and say, hello, it's not an ATM machine which will work according to our
Right.
inputs immediately. Everything else we need to learn to wait, even to give the right answer,
Of
right? So,
course.
and these are skills which children had practically learned from a very tender age in a physical classroom, right?
Right.
So now tell us something, how will this child start manipulating things, because in his head he is also becoming a salesman. He knows there
Yeah.
is an expectation in front of the screen which is different. The expectation in my physical environment right now in my home is very different. and what I want, or what I want to give, that's absolutely different, which of course we are not even getting a peek into. Okay,
Right.
so how will this child now start maneuvering?
So first, before we I answer this question of yours, first let's all of us understand the child is also going through a volcano of emotions. Okay,
True.
and he is not happy with what's happening. Okay, no
True.
child is happy with homeschooling. It was
True.
very, very beautiful for the first 1 month, and now it's frustrating. Okay, because I am not getting to be enjoy my that phase of my life, right? So one thing is that sitting in front of the computer and taking lessons, he is not excited about it. Okay. So that is already in his mind that I have to sit because I need to sit. I don't want to sit. Why can't I just go back to school? Okay. I've had so many conversations with so many kids, and I just am so it's gonna be it's fun at home, right? No, why can't I go to school? You know? These kids who just said, "Arey, why we need to be in school?" and all those things, but they are missing that part of it. They're missing
Absolutely.
their friends.
Absolutely.
They're missing running in the corridor. They're missing every second time another teacher coming. They're missing the in between fun. They're missing a hell lot, right? And they're not expressing that to you because
Right.
how they feel that anyway things are not going to change. So I have to be here, right? A very interesting thing happened, with work now starting, and some of the men have started moving out, and work has opened up. And just one of my nephew, he calls me and he tells me, why is education industry not raising their voice and calling us also back? Can't you just write to the education industry, since you're a counselor, that the children need to be in classrooms and not in the house? They're getting damaged. And how old is he? He's only 7 years old. He's telling me that, don't you think that their minds are getting damaged? And that damage will be worse than the corona damage.
How true.
So I said that, what, there are a lot of children in school, right? So but obviously public gathering is not allowed. When your dad goes to office, he's only a single person sitting in one cabin, right? So can we have just one child in one classroom? We can't have. So anyways, that was again another discussion with him, but I'm just telling you that the kids are missing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So they are missing that. Okay, now over here they know that there is a hawk sitting in front of.
Yes.
Okay, now this hawk is worse than my teacher hawk. So I have a teacher hawk who's sitting opposite, and another hawk sitting in my house. Now I am going to manipulate between both of them. So I have to keep the teacher happy, I have to keep my parent happy, I have to keep myself happy. And in this whole confusion, okay, the child then loses interest, right? Now when I'm looking at you, like our conversations right now, Ishita, okay, probably our conversations could have a different, it on the same topic. If I was sitting face to face with you, it would be a different conversation altogether,
Absolutely.
right? So but of this, we are restricting ourselves to this small box that we are sitting with right now. And similarly the children are also going through that.
Yes.
Why is it important? So I want to ask this question: why is it important that your child should display his intelligence openly? Why is it important for us?
I
Isn't
guess
it
I guess
important?
it's just I guess it's our need that we have built.
Exactly, I just needed that. It's for ourselves, right? The
Yes,
child has
nothing
nothing to
else.
gain. The child has nothing to gain. He knows
No,
he's intelligent. He knows when he has to show his intelligence, he will show his intelligence. But you want him to showcase his intelligence, which he's not okay. So, what is important for you as parents and teachers, that the child is showcasing or the child is perceiving? What is important?
right.
So, first get your things right. You want the child to perform for you, then well, sit over there, go damage the child. I'm okay with it. But you have to be very aware that I'm damaging my child,
Very true.
right? And if you want your child to perceive information, wants to gather information, just let him be. Why are you asking? I would ask the parents, why are you asking and telling the teacher, my child is waiting?
Yes.
right? The child will say, Miss, I'm waiting, please give me the answer, give me the chance first.
Now, the question is, if the adult role is negated from there, only then will the child make an attempt to say.
Right.
Right, it's like, when very young children come to school and they talk in mother tongue, all right, and we
Yes.
don't discourage them, but I
Right.
always tell my teachers, you keep telling in English even though he doesn't understand, because if you switch over to his mother tongue, he will never make an effort to ask you in English ever.
Right.
Okay, we always go for the easier version, and we do it when we enroll. Even at a 40 years age, if you enroll for a French or Spanish or German class, you wouldn't kind of do a translation mode of teaching and learning. You would go with only one mode of language learning, and this is how it is. Even in an online classroom, the mom or the dad needs to be a neutral figure sitting aside. I mean,
Yes.
mentally neutral. Physically, you may be there to operate the gadget of your child, but
Right.
what is consciousness required here? Yes, so
Right.
when we talk about consciousness in every aspect of parenting, this has become a very important parenting aspect now. How do I support in my child's education? This is the biggest support. Be neutral. And
Right.
as you said, discovering the intelligence is a different journey, and
Yes.
exhibiting the intelligence is a different journey. It's like, every time somebody visits your home, you don't go ahead and tell your child, go and solve five sums to tell uncle how well you've mastered the subject, right?
Right. Right.
Or you don't bring all the certificates that you have in your cupboard to exhibit. Look, this is what. Though many people may choose to, because people do talk on those aspects, but then actually, you shouldn't. I mean, because you know what is it. If your child is very good in maths or very good with elocution, you should know where is the platform to display it. You
Of
wait
course.
for that right platform. So this is a learning platform. This is not a platform for, proving that, oh, he's so good. Why couldn't he read those two sentences which was just shared on the screen by the teacher? I saw those five children reading. My child did not read. Begin the war,
Yeah.
right? So the
True.
war first starts in my head and for
Of
my own
course.
satisfaction. Now, tell us some of the tips which, as an adult, I'm sure you've told us how to start putting us in a different perspective, in a
Hmm.
partnership perspective, and in the perspective of identifying whether I want my child to perform for my satisfaction, or I actually want him to perform at the right time, right age, for the right reason. Okay, so you've put all these perspectives, but then it's not easy to again bring this perspective, and I may just react. So then
Right.
what do I do?
So one thing is that the parents need to be physically present, right? So you are
Yes.
physically present there, but simultaneously you're doing something that you are supposed to do. So you can pick up a book, read a book. You can be on the phone reading something. You can be, if there's something that you need to otherwise do, whether it's, some people have to chop vegetables. Pick up that time, get it. You are involved in your work. Okay,
True.
when you hear something which you are not okay with, okay, you will not speak, okay, but the look that you will give is the child is watching you from the corner of the eye, right? So get your looks neutral as if it's not bothered you at all,
Right.
right? So that's another thing that just don't, sometimes what happens now, we don't say anything, we just look at the child and that child is okay, I mean, no, I have.
Perplexed as to
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah, so and probably the child has said something wrong and you're just looking and saying, you like, right? So that is another thing. Please avoid parents chatting when the lessons are going on. Okay, I really would prefer that they don't have their perspective spoken at that point of time. You have a concern, you have something, address it later, right? So do not get onto that phase wherein you remember, Ishita, when I come to do workshops with the teachers, I always tell them one thing, that I can't teach you how to teach better, because that's not my role, right? I don't know how to teach at all. Similarly, they are teachers, they know their job, right? Please do not tell them how they could have done their job better,
True.
right? That's not your role. That's absolutely, you have something which you are not okay with. Please ask, that is there, was there any purpose, why this, because I can't understand that purpose, and let them explain that purpose to you,
Yeah.
right? Always remember that when somebody is monitoring you, you will never perform at the optimum. Now just
Absolutely.
imagine, if you're the world's best cook also, but I keep your mother-in-law standing there supervising you. See what's going to happen?
Yeah. You would falter definitely.
100%. Because you're trying to be over cautious that I should not make any mistakes. And the child is also, because of your presence, is saying, I should not make any mistakes. Right?
And the
And
teacher too. And the
of
teacher too.
of course, it's similarly, it's everything, right? It's
Yeah.
like, just imagine that I tell you that, okay, fine, make your child do the homework, and I'm going to be observing how you're making your child do the homework,
Yes.
right? So first and foremost, we have to come into acceptance, Ishita, that whatever we are doing, okay, this homeschooling was never the best option,
Yes.
or else we would never open up schools. Sit in your house, we would have conducted homeschooling programs.
Yeah, once upon a time during a certain era in history, there was the concept when on the entire day different tutors would come to your home and even
Yes.
aristocratic children would get educated thus.
Yeah.
But of
Right.
course, that made those children very different. They could never join back into the social stream, right?
Right.
They could never connect with people and they could never come back into the social stream. They would maybe have become an artist in their own genre, or somebody in their own field as an individual, but could never connect with the community around.
Right.
And today it is all about network, it's all about global connect, it's all about human empathy. Okay, and if
Right.
those empathetic emotions, and as you said, like both of us are talking across the screen and we are not able to mirror our body language, we are not able to, we're trying an aspect of mirroring our thought, but it would have been such subtle and such more effective if we were across the room, across the table, okay, in the same ecosystem. It would have been much more effective, which has already been taken away from our children now. Now,
True.
to add on, as adults, we have to nullify our presence. The more we
Right.
nullify our presence in the classroom, the more effective the classroom becomes for the child and the teacher.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, and then you said about developing a partnership. Like the partnership exists with our child or with our spouse or with even our parents in our home under the child rearing system. Same thing, it requires trust and faith on each other. So if
Of
on one
course.
hand the parent, as you said, needs to trust that she's the professional, she's the teacher, she would have the best intention for my child, I have to trust her and I have to
Right.
observe it for a certain period of time before I come to conclusions.
Right. Yes.
Similarly, the teacher also have to have faith because she would also be under the fear the moment she knows there's a presence behind the child or aside the child. Oh, I'm being observed. I'm being monitored. I'm being noted. If I slip somewhere, if I'm how do I respond and things like that. So even she needs to trust. Even if I'm being observed, maybe he's trying to take help through my teaching lessons. I mean, he or she may be sitting there just to understand because it for him it is a very new perspective. So let me have that faith.
Right.
You know,
Of course.
so give us a few tips for the teachers as well to change that because perspective change cannot be one sided, it has to be mutual, bringing us towards the same goal or the same objectives, which is the child. All right, so give
Yes.
us few tips for the teacher as well.
Okay. So I would tell you The teachers, okay. Then we have inspections in school also, right? Wherein you would just one day just walk into the classroom when the teacher is teaching, and you will sit and observe her lesson, right?
Right, right.
At that point of time, she will make a conscious effort to give the best lesson,
Yes.
right? She will make
Yeah.
a she'll make an absolute conscious effort. Similarly, look at this as an inspection and give your best lesson,
Yeah.
right? So the moment you believe in your teaching, the moment you believe that this is my passion and I'm giving my 100% to this, and I have nothing more to give to this, okay, that's when there will be no fear.
Yes.
That's when, even if the education minister comes and sits in front of you now, you will not falter, right? Because you know that you are not compromising on your give.
Absolutely. And you have a reason for everything that you are delivering. You're not just delivering out of just a job and I have to just get going with my lesson. You have structured it because of certain reasons.
Right, exactly. And that structure is what the school trusts about you, right? So that
Absolutely.
is why you are associated with Kuthari International. So that's one aspect of it, right? Ishita, wherein the teachers look at them as your critics, and critics bring out the best in you,
Yes. That's a
right?
nice way of putting it. That's a really nice way of putting it.
So your best is anyways going to come out, because and another thing, apart from giving in your best, also remember that we are humans and it's okay to make a mistake.
Correct.
You are not perfect individuals, you are making an effort to deliver your perfect, but you're not perfect individuals.
True.
And it's okay to make a mistake. If you make a mistake and you acknowledge that, yes, I have made a mistake, this was an error, the children are also simultaneously learning that if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world,
True. I think that
right?
is a lot of cultural, give and take between the teacher's mindset, the parent's mindset, and the child's mindset. It's okay.
Exactly.
Today I had a slip of tongue. Today I kind of, said this thing, and next day in the class I may just come and say, yesterday when I was teaching you this, and this is how I
Yes,
explained. But let me now rephrase it because I just found out yesterday night that there are few more points to it.
of
So
course.
which is absolutely fine.
Exactly. Now, suppose, Ishita, you had to ask me a question for which I never had an answer. Does that
Correct.
make me a less competitive professional? No, I will
No.
always tell you, Ishita, I will get back. I have no knowledge about it right now.
Correct.
Right? But when will I falter when I will not come back with it?
Yes.
So that is my problem. The thing
Or
that
else, is I have an attitude where I say, no, I was always right. I have these many
yes,
years of experience and I have been doing it, and this is never a case. And I have always been telling this, or something of that case where, I seem so stuck up with that
right,
point, and I'm not ready to let go and learn and improvise or improve myself or even reflect with maybe that I have missed on a point. So
of
I think
course,
that's a shared vision which we also need to understand. But then again, I will like to add, Habiba, a person is more receptive to their own shortcomings. Like you said, in a live classroom, as a principal, we go, we observe, and then we kind of get down to give a feedback to the teacher. Because if it's a constructive feedback, if it's something which they feel is going to help me further on, then a person is open to improvising, learning, and accepting the shortcomings,
right.
right? But if it comes as a critical approach,
Hmm.
if it comes with a hammering approach, then of course the partnership is not built, and
Exactly.
the receiver and both the purveyor both are at loggerheads.
Exactly. And how it's communicated. See, I can be a critic, but I should, as you said, effective critic,
Hmm.
right? How it's communicated, right?
Hmm.
So if I have made a mistake in one of my lessons as a teacher, okay, and a parent has observed it and she's made it go viral on the parent group,
Correct.
how have you respected that teacher? What have you
Correct.
taught your child that you don't need to respect your teachers?
Yes.
Right? What happens if that same child of yours, when you as a parent make a mistake and they put it up viral in their school that, my mother did this, and that makes you ever let go of that mistake of your child, and you would make a big deal about it?
True.
Yes. So that's again, we are coming back round and round to the same thing, that yes, communication is important, but how you communicate reflects a lot about you, a
Yes.
lot. The
Yes.
same thing I can talk in a very subtle tone, but an effective tone. Okay.
Mm.
And another thing is I can talk in a loud tone and a non effective way. Right. So I can make a big hue and cry about the whole thing. Right. But how is it helping? Will it help your child? No, it's not helping your child. Sometimes I've seen parents, they just, if something's gone wrong, they'll pick up the phone, they'll talk to another parent on the phone. The child is just sitting there and listening.
Absolutely.
Right? And I again get back to the same thing. Would you do the same thing if you fought with your mother, or you fought with your friend, or you fought with your husband? Would you talk in front of your child and make a big thing about it?
Yeah.
So the shift, your conscious shift over here for us is that look at this as a partnership and not a medium wherein you are buying education. Okay. And the teachers simultaneously look at this as a shift, that this is a partnership and your role in the child's life is forever. And we've done this, we've done it in our sessions with the teachers, wherein I've shown them the importance of how a teacher plays such an impact on the child, that today also I will ask all parents, look back, I'll ask all teachers who are sitting here, to go back and think about that one teacher who brings about a smile on their face, and the one teacher who, when they think about it and say, oh my god, what a terror she was. Right? So if teachers had no role to play in your child's life and it was only education, then what would remain would be education. The education never remains. You ask your child what they did in fifth standard, will we remember what we did?
Correct.
But we
Correct.
remember the teacher.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right? So this is the impact of the teacher. So you both have very sensitive roles to play.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
you're at that.
especially when you're learning from each other, uh,
Yes.
as a teacher, if you want your child to learn from the teacher, even if it's like a 6 months period or 1 year, that's just not a concern. But if you want him to learn from her even for one more day, then you shouldn't change the picture of this person in front of the child.
Right.
And even if you directly don't communicate to the child, as we were discussing our home environment and our body language with our partner, it always gets carried on to the child. How do my parents perceive the teacher? How do my parents perceive the school? And then the child also belittles every human being. A child will never have to look up to anybody for any
Exactly.
reason, the smallest of it. Okay,
Yes.
and he wouldn't be appreciative of anything that comes to him, and he would consider that to be meaningless and valueless at all.
Just
All right.
imagine, Ishita, that has happened in the respect of the teachers. पहले गुरु को भगवान बोलते थे, right? Now, then afterwards, during our times, I remember we used to feel scared of, the whole respect. It was not fear; it was respect, right? And now they're like buddies. They want to be like buddies, wherein there is absolutely no. Sometimes there is zero respect coming for the teachers, and the whole shift, this dynamic shift, has happened not because the children have changed or the education system has changed. It's happened because the perception about education has changed.
Yes.
You know, So it is about our perception, in for this present scenario, Ishita, I would say that your child is like that diya which is lit, okay, and there is a huge wind blown. With one hand, will you be able to save the diya from blowing off? You
No,
can't. So
no,
you will need both hands being held like this. One is you and one is the teacher's,
right.
and you all cannot exist without each other. Your child's life is incomplete without each other,
Yes,
right? And you, if you know this is so important for your child and its well-being, and you know that you both have a very active role to play, then I think so it's just about changing our perceptions, from our thought processes of how we perceive the opposite person to be.
true.
We don't have to play the blame game, that the teachers are not doing a good job. The teachers will say the parents are neglecting the child,
Very
right?
true. Yeah,
We are not going there. We don't want to go there, right? So there can be multiple things which, I could say right now, that as I said, that there is a protective parent. There is a parent who wants to protect their child and doesn't realize that in this whole thing about protecting and pampering the child, wherein the child doesn't have to speak up for himself, we are damaging the child so much because I am the spokesperson for them,
correct.
right? And simultaneously for the teachers, there are going to be a bunch of people in the classroom who will always want to speak, right?
Mm,
And there will be some who will not want to speak,
correct.
right? But encouraging those ones to communicate is your role. Our focus always goes on a brighter side. A
True.
dark color will always, we'll make our shift go there.
Mm,
But actual when will it come, when you will know how to balance that? And
true.
that's the role of yours as a teacher. So I think so if we all play our roles very, very well and stay within the limits of our role and not jump into somebody else's role, we are going to do a good job and our children are going to be far more happier.
All right. So, when you talk about our roles, I think the prime attribute which comes in for us to play the roles well, for the teacher as well as the parent, is empathy. If
Yes.
the teacher is able to empathize with the parents and stop complaining, oh, that parent is negligent, that parent never reads the circulars, that parent is like this, the parent is like that, and she empathizes, in a communication. All right, let me just talk to the parent today, let me just write back to the parent today. Let me just try and understand, rather than just putting, oh, your child is like this, your this is this, he hasn't been doing, he has. So let me just talk, because it's like, I was just reading a book and it says the world's most dangerous psychopath criminals, when they are put on a negotiation table, they crack within 2 minutes. It's just the art of empathy. And
Yes.
if you are able to rephrase their sentence and then kind of connect with them, however nonsensical it may appeal to us, you know,
Yes.
immediately that person kind of, starts mirroring your thought process and comes around, right? And here it's not so difficult.
Yes.
It's that end of the spectrum. So if it's in a real life situation, if we put our human self into it, and as you said, not consider it as a job or a profession, I finished my classes, I finished my duty, I'm done with it, and just connect on an individual level, have a communication and find out, it is much easier to make somebody realize, rather
Yes.
than putting words and telling them you should have done this, you must have done this, and I don't know how this will happen. Same thing with the parent also.
True.
Empathy becomes a role. If that person connects and understand, I understand, in a day you have to go online with so many classes, you have this kind of a workload, you have this yet we appreciate xyz, and then maybe kind of be able to talk. The other day I observed something like this, could you explain? The entire story is defined in a different way.
Exactly. So I'll give you a simple example. Okay. Suppose if you feel your child is neglected. Okay, and you want to communicate this to the teacher, and there is a way in which you'll communicate, right? So you will tell the teacher, you know what, you're just neglecting my child, and my child is just not, he's just not able to speak, and you never give him a chance. This is one way of saying it, right? And then there's another way of saying it, saying that I feel that my child has been, is feeling neglected. Can we do something to not make him feel that way? Is there anything that we can do, right?
Correct.
So again, this power of we comes. My whole bottom line falls to this we. That when we say we, I'm also taking the onus that can I do something to help, and I'm not just putting everything on you, and I'm not blaming you for it, right? So the same way, if a parent is, if a teacher has a complaint that this parent just does not respond back, is just not seeing things, right? Instead of sending her a stinker and saying that, you are not bothered about your child XYZ, you could call her and say, is everything okay with you? Because I've seen that, over a lot of time there has been no communication between us. I'm trying to reach out to you, but it's somehow I'm not being able to get it. Is everything okay?
True.
Right? So the parent starts feeling that I'm not accusing you of anything, okay?
Right.
But she's feeling concerned, that is there something that, we need to look at it together. And that's when the whole, we will change this perception, we'll change this approach only when we change the thought processes that's running, wherein I don't have to say that, okay, I why am I paying so much XYZ amount of money to the school? I'm giving so much of money because I want the best. And is this the
Right.
best? Now, this
Yeah.
best is defined by you only. We've never defined the best. Like what is best for me can never be best for you,
True.
right? So again, if we don't look at it, see, if even in a partnership, okay, there is one person who's a sleeping partner, one is an active partner, but it's all over that we trust each other. So
Correct.
I always tell parents that if you can't trust the school, then don't send your child there, because that's where it comes. You have to trust.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's for any role. Even
Yes.
if for an hour you employ a plumber to do a job in your home, you
Right.
have to, for that hour, you have to lay trust on that person.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
here, if you have enrolled a child, what with I'm very sure you would want the child to complete 14 years, 12 years, or 10 years of education. So you
Right.
have to have trust on the team who's delivering the education. Or else, what we end up is we keep trying every year a different school, and we keep changing.
Yes.
It's sad to even face such parents who have practically gone across in 5 years to five different school, and they come and say all are equally bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have had such parents also, and I'm just going to try. So they come with that mindset, let's try this one for 1 year.
Yeah.
All
Yeah. Of course.
are equally good. All
Yes.
are equally good. Now, how you have defined that bad and good, because if that's the mindset, we will never have a job where we find satisfaction. We will never have a home where we find satisfaction. We'll never be satisfied with anything.
Of course. Of course.
Right, so we have to have our questions very clear. So like, just before arriving, let's not just arrive too soon. Let's go through the journey of arriving. If you remember, I think in our second or third session, we had given a task to the adults. I think on the Father's Day special, we had spoken about every time you come up with, this is my perspective, have a pen and paper ready, put down five why questions, put
Yes.
down five how questions, put down some what questions, and define. By the time you're defining, the entire anger, the entire adrenaline rush would slush down, and you would have more definite answers there. And
Exactly.
then you
Exactly.
would want not to immediately write back or put things or put messages, and you would want to reflect and think, and
True.
then know how to put a right question across.
Exactly. So they say no that between the action and the reaction, there is a
Yes.
reflection.
Yes.
And if there is no reflection, then the reaction is not appropriate.
Correct.
So if you want an appropriate reaction, then there will have to be a reflection. For anything, it's not only for the for this specific thing, for
Absolutely.
any episode that happens in your life,
Yes,
it's
yes.
all about that reflection, which will help you make that right thing, that do I really need to react at this particular moment.
True.
Yeah. So basically, let's give this one thing, that at least before they react, they will all reflect, and all of us, just not jump to any conclusion, and even simultaneously teach our children that let's reflect.
Hmm.
You know, let's reflect back and think why, how we need to now act further. So there is a situation, there is a challenging situation. How are we going to react to that? Right? So reaction is in our control,
Right.
right? No, somebody's action is not in our control, but our reaction is in our control, and that will only help us through our reflection how we are going to react. So instead of feeling sorry that why did I react this way, the circle of action and reaction should complete over there. So they say that between action and reaction, if there is no reflection, then your reaction will become action, and then there will be
Yes.
somebody who will reflect, who will react to this, and this is going to
Yes.
go round and round in circles, just somebody does not break it with their reflection.
Correct.
So the moment you tell the teachers something, the teachers will tell you something, and then it will go on and on and on and on, and there will be no solution apart from that child who will go round and round with you all.
See, and another thing, what I understand, Habiba, is with our social network, especially and the news media, it has become a habit that I see something and I feel the need to judge it immediately.
Yes.
It is so ingrained in us. Okay, though we come from an era not of the social networking era, okay, but yet now we are also hooked onto this. We see a piece of news, we see a piece of video, we read something, and immediately we have to put in our judgment, our criticism, our comment, our viewpoint. We don't want to connect it with couple of other things and find linkages, try to find the after effects of it, hold on, wait, watch, connected with the past, future, see where does it lead. Why do we have to be so reactive? And I think this is also entering our mainstream life. It is
Yes.
not only online teaching. Online teaching is just an area. I mean, if by nature I am a person who always reacts to five comments coming my way, I cannot do away with that nature, right? I will always react. And if I'm one person, if five questions are asked to me, to each of them I will ask five questions, then that will be my nature forever. I mean, I won't feel bad about it. Oh, how come he wrote such a nasty line to me? It's okay. I understand there is a reflection lacking in your
Right.
process. So let me help you reflect, right?
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah. And then I would pose five more questions that maybe it helps you reflect. I mean, sometimes it may just kind of irritate you, sometimes it may help you,
Of
right?
course.
But again, it's a matter of habit. When we are constantly going back to the same thing, whether the action reaction cycle, whether the reflection cycle, it is all going to the self improvement journey.
Yes. True.
Yes. How I think, how I decipher my thoughts, and how do I then take it into action,
True.
right? Would you like
Exactly.
to end the session with a nice story, some motivation, something which the parents and teachers can take back today?
So, psychology and our psychologist Eric Byrne, okay, he said that we are a product of our past. Okay, whatever happens in our past, it carries forward to us. And they say, especially, I would like this for all the young parents of children who have young parents. Sorry, parents who have young children. They for them that a child, we all individuals are functioning from our own life scripts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the way there is a film script, okay, wherein there is a script of a film, and then what you see on the big screen is the script that somebody had written. Similarly, we all have written our life script, right? And we have written our life script from the age 0 to 7 years.
Absolutely.
Okay. And what we have written, now we are just we are working on that life script, right? Now, how is a child who is from 0 to 7 even making a life script?
Mm,
Okay. This does not happen at a conscious level. This happens as a subconscious level, wherein
mm,
he's collecting information from significant adults and making his entire life script, right?
mm.
That is your role as significant adults in this child's life, right? And you as parents, you as teachers, you as significant adults have planted that seed into the child, right? Now there are 6 universal emotions that the child is born with, right? But all the other emotions that has been learned, that was they were never born with, so they have learned that. They have learned it, and you have then kept watering it,
Mm.
right? And now when they grow up and when they become teenagers and when they become adults, and then that is a full blown tree, when we realize that, oh my God, where have I go? What did I do wrong? Right?
True.
So at that point of time, if you don't like a particular thing, right?
Mm.
It's when you will have to just cut it off and say that, okay, I don't need this. I don't need to water the seed. And your actions are automatically is what your child is learning,
Very
right?
right.
So with both parents and teachers, you all have such significant roles to play in that child's life. You're molding that child into a future, I don't know what, some future big thing out there, who's going to make you feel very proud that it's what you have sown over there is showing results. And
Right.
that satisfaction is always very, very important. Very important. So I would just like to end saying that understand your roles and do not step into each other's role. You have been
Very true. Very
designed,
true.
you have been designed for that role.
Mm.
And for all parents and teachers, okay, who feel that they want to be that child's best friend,
Mm.
okay, and I am going to very dishearten them and tell them that they cannot be that child's best friend. I've shared that with you before, Ishita, that we
Yeah.
have roles to play. Don't step into that role, because being that child's best friend, it doesn't work. You're not going to be that child's friend.
Correct. You can
So
be just a cool mom or dad. That's it.
exactly. You can be the most amazing mom. You can be the most amazing dad. You can be the most amazing teacher.
Yeah.
Don't try to be their friend, because that's
I
when you're
think
going to spoil.
I think we need to do a complete session on this aspect of being the friendly parent, because that's like a very colloquial term today. Oh, I'm her best friend. I'm his best friend types. Okay, so we
Yeah,
will
yeah,
have to do a session.
we will definitely continue this. So we'll end this over here with a little enthusiasm on how calling yourself, telling your child that I'll be your best friend, how is it going to fall on your face? And I will share my personal experience, how it fell on my face. So
Yeah.
let's keep that for the next session. So we can stop here and we can let them think how the next session is going to be so interesting for them to not miss it.
So, happy conscious parenting to all the parents who are listening, to all the teachers who are listening. You are also parenting in a partnered form. And I hope empathy plays in each of our role, because today, consciously, we chose this area where, as parents, we are dealing with our adult emotion when we are sharing the classroom space with our child, and we need to be that neutral figure. We need to be that empathetic figure, and we need to build a partnership with our teachers, and that's for the benefit of our child. And we also stop need to think that the child needs to perform, so that I draw solace out of it, I draw importance out of it, and I feel good about it, because he has a full lifetime to perform and do it at the right pedestal, not in this session, Right. So, with that thought, we leave you to craft and carve your child's emotional well being. And we look forward to another talk show with Habiba. Thank you so much for joining us, Habiba, and enlightening the listeners.
Thank you so much. It's always been a pleasure talking.
Have a good day, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.